In this spirit, a movement was born that I called the Latin American way of Berlin subculture.
ADKDW Rec.
Academy of the Arts of the World. Learning to Listen. Learning to Listen is a podcast format that explores different forms of listening and not listening, learning and unlearning to listen, dedicated to sounds, songs, narratives, and auditory events, and why some of them are heard and others not. Learning to Listen 4 with Tropical Diaspora Records, featuring DJ GArRinchA and DJ Dr. Sócrates.
I am Dr. Sócrates.
I am DJ GArRinchA, founder of Tropical Diaspora Records, an independent label based in Berlin, focused on vinyl records.
At Tropical Diaspora Records, we curate and produce music of the African diaspora worldwide. GArRinchA, you have a history of immigration coming from São Paulo in Brazil.
I would say that as a child of the peripheries, I was born in the immigration. In fact, I was born during my mom's immigration from her village to the main city of São Paulo. Talking about Brazil, right? In a country shaped by meritocracy and structural racism, immigration is a must. This vicious circle is virtually impossible to avoid, but anywhere in the world where you have such kind of situation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So after the internal immigration with my mom and my grandma, it was my turn to immigrate.
So first was internal immigration.
Right.
And after that?
My turn to immigrate, I went to Berlin.
Yeah.
So I came to Berlin in the 90s, and I swapped the tropical concrete jungle of São Paulo for Berlin. An immigrant, a foreigner, a refugee, a South American guy. This is a song by Belchior, by the way, so I'm this is a quote. Yeah. In another diaspora, fleeing from the catastrophic economic situation and the political situation in Brazil. Something like what we have now with this idiot there. Bolsonaro, yeah.
Wave the influence.
But anyway, coming to Berlin in the 90s, it was like entering a laboratory with transformations taking place in any corner of the city, right? In this spirit, a movement was born that I called the Latin American way of Berlin subculture. Among the first places where the scene gathered was one very special called Freitags Bar, one of the many unlicensed bars right in the city center of East Berlin. To me, this place perfectly embodied the spirit of that time. As an undocumented immigrant, as you know...
I love the word undocumented.
Yeah, sure. I'm taking that from the US, right? Because you don't say illegal there, you say I'm undocumented.
Yeah, of course. We say
better,
undocumented.
Right? Exactly.
We say undocumented. Yeah.
And so I was undocumented,
right,
by the way. So I took many different precarious jobs, right? As an immigrant needs to do to survive. But the best one was the doorman. Yes, I was the doorman, the bouncer. At the Freitags Bar, managing guests from all over the world into the basement.
That basement.
Exactly. But after I quit the job because other occupations, and I had my studies to take care of here too. When I visited again the gloomy cavern, right, our basement, and I met another guy doing my job. I think that guy was you, Dr. Sócrates.
Yes, it was me. Yeah. I have my own history of immigration, by the way, despite, I have to say, having enjoyed all the privileges of being European come from the periphery of Europe, the Atlantic coast, Galicia, and for us, Europe was not there. Europe was something else, something that can be located in France, in Belgium, in Holland, and especially in West Germany, but we were not Europe, that for sure. But we wanted to know what Europe is.
Right.
And the wealth contrast at the time was amazing. Well, I came to Berlin, despite being European, I soon became in Berlin just one more brown Latino. I came here in 2002, and well, like GArRinchA, I had several precarious jobs, and I lived for a while in a squatted house. Berlin was very famous in the 90s for its squatted neighborhoods, and I started to work as a bouncer at the Freitas bar.
Yeah, the Freitas bar was such house, right?
It was such a house too. And this Freitas bar, you remember, there was one of the many unlicensed clubs. They were like everyone with the name of one day of the week.
Yeah,
right. This was the way at the time. I was also doing
easy times, right? You just need to know which day of the week, and then you know which bar you should go. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true for those who lived in the night. Right. Yeah. And I was DJing already at the time, playing mainly ska, reggae, and Latin music under the influence of Mano Negra, later Mano Chao. And I remember that in the Freitas bar, when we were playing, I was doing the job at the door. You came, GArRinchA, with some music, some self-made compilations of Brazilian music.
I did, because I saw you guys playing. I say, look, I would like to play, but let's start with something else, right? I started to make compilations on CDs with Brazilian music to give to you guys, and for my surprise, you guys were playing my music.
Played a lot of them.
Not my music, but my compilations. I say, okay, I think I could play by myself, right?
Right, that's right. Yeah.
And then at that time, one important history here is that especially one artist called Elza Soares was always on my mixes, and I was playing that a lot. And one day a friend came to me on the DJ pool and say, "Oh, I know Elza Soares. She was the wife of GArRinchA, the soccer player." And so I became DJ GArRinchA. But
that's true.
Let's talk about you. I think you wasn't called Dr. Sócrates for a while. Remember, I gave you the name, right?
Yes, you did. Yeah. And you know why? Of course. Well, as a kid, the most exciting event was the 1982 football World Cup in Spain. Yeah. And this amazing Brazilian team. You know that?
The best team ever.
The best team ever, the experts say. With Zico, with Falcao, with Toninho Cerezo, and many others, and it was also Sócrates.
Right.
He was this amazing player, a physician, by the way, an initiator, and that is one of the most important points here, the initiator of one of the most beautiful experiments in popular democracy.
A democracia corintiana.
Exactly, Corinthians democracy, right? Which is all about how the workers manage the Corinthians football club in São Paulo, and in this way they really challenged the military dictatorship.
Right.
So it was obvious that my name had to be Dr. Sócrates, Sócrates, because of my political leanings, because our affinity for cultural revolutions, and I was a doctor. True. Yeah,
the most important fact, I said, okay, you are a doctor, so
I'm a doctor, my PhD
logical consequences.
Art history, right? Exactly. So, we were playing music at the Freitas bar, talk about the compilations, and we used them a lot. That's true. Right. And we were digging music, we were doing a lot of exchange, talking a lot about music. And you remember GArRinchA, how the Freitas bar ended?
Oh, that's a good one. Sure, I remember. That time, the district of Mitte, right, in the center of East Side Berlin, was in a deep gentrification process. Well, the last night at the Freitags bar was well planned by three parties, let's say. The new gentrified neighbors that just came into the district, the city administration, and for sure the police to support the whole thing, right? Well, they all decided that such clubs couldn't exist anymore in the new posh city center. Well, the police occupied the club, and it was the end of it. And you, Dr. Sócrates, you was the bouncer. You're caught in the middle because you had to open the door, right? And they made you responsible for the whole thing.
Yes, amazing. I remember that. Yeah, it was, in fact, one time I was surrounded by the police. I had to identify myself because obviously they thought, well, this Latino, he has no papers, right? But as a European, I wasn't into travel, of course, but I even had to get a lawyer in order to avoid the fine, and you could have been deported. So it was it was not a funny thing.
My advantage is that I don't look like a Latino, so they let me go because they thought I'm German.
You're German,
right? That's kind of advantage there, but let's go ahead.
Yeah, let's move on, GArRinchA. With this DJing together in several venues, not just the Freitas bar, but we was doing things in different, also with different events. There were important things going on at that time. But one very important thing now is that you began doing an event at JAM. The JAM is the Young African Art Market, quite a special place in Berlin. I wasn't involved on that at the time because I was writing a book. I had my first child, and I was also doing my second PhD in philosophy.
I was finished my engineering studies, right? But I managed to continue doing music parallel to that. And one day I was invited to play at the YAM in Berlin around 2008. So after that I helped to organize a series of live concerts and parties with the personnel there. And I began to create my own concept somewhere that we called Tropical Diaspora Party, right?
Let me stop you here, because I remember that there were a couple of very good, amazing concerts. I remember one of the bands we later recorded at Records, Super Spanish Combo from Barcelona. We'll talk about that later. But I will like to emphasize two events that took place there. The first one was something with several bands from Brazil.
This is directly related to what we said before, right? That Brazil had a catastrophic economical and social situation, but here was this phase in Brazil where Brazil wasn't so bad under Lula da Silva, and exactly, and that's right. So under his government cultural policy, a group of musicians called Brazilian Caravan come to tour through Europe, and one of the cities was Berlin, right? Basically, the Brazilian Caravan was a group of artists, technicians, musicians, divided in three bands. So one was Eta Carinai, a kind of rock. The other one was Fim de Feira, this forró, the Brazilian cumbia, right? and the Rivotril, so experimental Afro-Brazilian jazz band. Very nice song. And this was a project coming from Pernambuco, in the northeast of Brazil, right? And it was the first event that practically represent everything that Tropical Diaspora came to be about. And that is to promote non-mainstream, right, music and artists.
Yeah, and the second event, Gar, I wanted to mention is the Football World Cup 2014.
Right. The polemic World Cup, right, in Brazil 2014. So the YAM organization committee, it wasn't not only YAM people, they brought other DJs and other people from outside, right? Few from the mainstream music business. And in first place, they suggested a name for the event, right? And they started with Paz e Futebol, something like in English, peace and football. I was furious, right?
It doesn't make sense.
Since I knew
La imagen de lo que se puede conseguir mediante la lucha revolucionaria, la esperanza de un mundo mejor.
what was happening in the country in Brazil, to make this FIFA event possible. And you had poor people being displaced and killed. New stadiums were built for only one game, and at the end 95% of the people couldn't pay for a ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that, right? Without to talk about the native people that got oppressed and everything.
Exactly.
Anyway, but I was actively engaged and could influence the change of the name, and then we call that Força Yam, like Go Yam, right?
Yeah.
And the very important part on all these events that run the whole month of the World Cup was the public viewing, right?
Yeah.
And that we called Campo Sócrates. A very good one. Right?
Socrates Field, yeah.
Socrates Field.
Yeah.
So, but at the end of this 1 month event, we had two very important concerts. Main concerts, right? One is a mainstream that's not worth to talking about, but
the other one, the other one was a very special guest from us. Yeah.
Yeah, you know him, I know him. We have a good relation, and this is Pax Nicolas, right? The former #1 conga player of the legendary Fela Kuti's Africa 70 band.
Yeah, one of the veterans of the original Afrobeat. And I have to say that this was not our first concert with Pax, because we did before a very successful one. It was for a long time the first time that someone brought Pax Nicolas and his band onto the stage.
Exactly, right? Yeah. We were the first to dig him from his home and put him on the stage, right?
His
and
home in one of the peripheries of Berlin.
Totally.
It's an amazing neighborhood in the north.
Yeah. I would compare that with the South Side in Chicago, but that's another history. But anyway, but don't forget, right? Not only Pax Nicolas were in our playlist, but also the Ogene Kologbo, right? That was the tenor guitar on the Africa 70.
Right.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah.
No? But because of that, what happened at the World Cup event at YAM, I got a proposal at the end, right? From the new administration, they got. Make a new mainstream event for tropical music, right? Or you can leave. So I choose to leave around 2015.
Right. Really?
Right? And then I've created my own record label, Tropical Diaspora Records. And since then, we are on the road producing vinyl,
music, and then
cassettes. And
Well, and then speaking about that, the foundational moment of Tropical Diaspora Records, and with all the experience we got from the musicians, from the technicians, and from the bands we put on the stage at a jam, all the people we got involved with, I think we could now mention our first vinyl compilation, the topic of which is the diaspora. Here, in this compilation, we revisit history of enslavement in order to transform the tree of forgetfulness and the door of no return that actually exists in Benin, where slaves were forced to forget. So we want to transform that into a powerful network of remembrances.
Yeah, the door of no return is still there under the protection of the UNESCO, right?
Yeah. So we have in the record several diasporas. I cannot name all of them now, but there are two that stand out for some special reasons.
Oh yeah, that's our good example to connect Afro diaspora and the native people and the Latin American continent, but actually whole Americas, right?
Yeah, the whole Americas.
And yes, the first one is Horoya, and this is a project of the Brazilian musician André Peruca, right? And he is a specialist and activist for West African music and work in São Paulo with a group of such musicians, right? Who in fact they are part of the new immigration wave of African people during the Lula's government opening of the country, right?
To the Africa, right?
Yeah, and then in São Paulo, for example, we have a lot of West African immigration. Nigeria, Mozambique, all the Portuguese speaking, and then.
But there are more, right? It's a new wave of people coming from Africa to Brazil to work. Right?
So, and they are actually the true region, right, of the Afro-Brazilian culture. Anyway, so besides that, we published a very special song by Horoya that begins with a manifesto by David Kopenawa Yanomami, right, the shaman and spokesperson of the Yanomami people in the Amazonas region. So we have here the connection between Africa and the natives. That's amazing, right? And the second song I would like to mention here, Sócrates, is Canción para Cariño. Is the pronunciation correct in Spanish?
Yes, very nice.
Right.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Takuni nana, takuni tata, takuni shishi, takuni shito, kua chatakunya ni kita. Tatsabini. Las piernas bien firmes sobre el suelo, la cabeza erguida, digna, la mente fría y el corazón ardiente.
By our friends Rio Senti, right? Aline and Josué. The song is a homage to the human rights activist Alberta Betty Cariño, right? She got killed when paramilitaries ambushed her caravan on its ways to the indigenous autonomous community of San Juan Capala in Mexico. Well, for us, the song represents the fight against the atrocities happening in all Latin America, still controlled by the same barbarian elites and their hitmen, exactly like at the time of colonization. Yeah. That's very emotional song, but
very emotional. Well, in this respect, Cara, one of the artists we work with, I think he and the people exemplify very much what we want to achieve at Tropical Diaspora Records. That is to take matters into our hands, to control their own narrative.
Yeah, that's true. And we do that directly from the belly of the beast, right?
We
How
do
it is?
that.
We do that.
that.
We are on the belly of the beast. Exactly. Yes, so we cannot forget Renato Gama and the Saminina Coletivo, right? From the deepest periphery in São Paulo, Vila Nhocuné. They have become not just partners, but accomplices and brothers too, right?
Yeah.
Our relation started with the production of their first own live recorded concert. They had a CD, and I found is a own history there. We can do a podcast on for that.
Yes.
But I found the CD and we produced a vinyl, a great vinyl.
It is too.
Right, with a 7-inch to it, and it was a great production, right? And then we tour with them in Europe, going from Berlin to Paris, Madrid, Valencia, Barcelona, Zurich, and back to Berlin, about around 5,000 kilometers. The result of this was the second record called Renato Gama Berlin, right? Recorded and produced in Berlin with mixing and mastering in the Pele Preta studio in the periphery district of Vila Nhocuné in São Paulo.
So we have a studio in
That's right.
periphery of
we have
São Paulo.
in the deepest periphery of São Paulo city.
Going global.
Exactly. And local at the same time. Whatever people mean with that, right?
Exactly.
Anyway, but Sócrates, let's move on. And talking about these topics, we must inevitably refer to our manifesto, or rather our anti-manifesto, especially since you, Sócrates, I think you are a Marxist, right?
Yes, I believe I am. Well, for me, and after many discussions together, it was important to create a connection between what we do, Marx, and the anti-colonial discourse, the question of cultural appropriation and the emancipation of subjugated peoples, all aspects relevant to the thinking of Frantz Fanon. And as you know, at Tropical Diaspora Records, we want to give voice to those who have no voice or whose voice has been mediated, in fact, manipulated by the cultural industries created in the West.
Let me say something here. Yes, I remember that, the trigger for our anti-manifesto. I think at the time I was in Chicago with my brothers and sisters there. And you sent me a picture. Over the night I was playing somewhere and I saw that picture from a record store in Berlin, right? We have 80 hours difference. I think here was kind of afternoon. There I was already playing somewhere. And I saw the picture, and later I looked it in detail and I couldn't believe it, right? It was the picture from a legendary cover. We have it even here with us by the artist Verekechi. And Verekechi is one of the oldest representatives for a style of music direct from the Amazonas region called Carimbó. Right? Very important figure on the music on that area. But the picture is amazing. A group of musicians in the middle of the jungle, so that sometimes you don't recognize the people into the picture. You know that, right? It's amazing. Well, the compilation used the cover without no reference to what I'm telling you right now. That's very important, right? No title. The original title was deleted,
not appearing,
right? And you answered back, "Enough is enough. I will write a manifesto." And I say, please do it.
Now talking about the manifest.
The anti-manifesto.
Yes, I want to emphasize that it's an anti-manifesto, right? Which means that it explains all that we are not and we will never become. Because what we are, you already see it in our music productions.
That's right.
The second aspect I want to stress is what is meant by cultural appropriation in the manifesto. That's quite an important thing. Cultural appropriation means the self-giving right by the West to produce, through the technical means of reproduction, of course, a narrative, to produce a narrative that speaks for the other, the subjugated, the global South, creating, in fact, what is known as the Marco Polo syndrome.
And there if I can interrupt you, just like that, a topic very actual right now, the Benin bronzes, right? Here in Berlin, on the Humboldt Forum.
Yeah, there are here in Berlin.
The Marco Polo syndrome is in full power there.
Most of them are in Berlin. There are some of them in the British National Gallery too.
Exactly. Well, stolen by British.
That is an issue by soldiers. They just pull them down from the walls, etc.
Right.
The history is amazing. Right. But what is the Marco Polo syndrome about? It means that the behavior, the culture of subjugated peoples has to correspond with what Westerners think it is the culture of subjugated people. It's called Marco Polo because we got to know about China through the writings of Marco Polo. So when we went to China, we thought, hey, you are not doing what Marco Polo said you do. Right. What's wrong with you guys? That's the idea of the Marco Polo syndrome. So Fanon writes that the Negro, who has never felt Negro as under the white domination, is expected to demonstrate the existence of a Negro culture.
Yeah, this is very fun, all right? We need some minutes to digest this.
What his
the meaning of that, but it's a very powerful statement.
That is a very powerful statement, and we shouldn't underestimate what is implied by it.
Exactly. Yeah, that has been our constant fight, I would say. But Sócrates, we don't have time forever here. Let's play a game. I would suggest a back-to-back game.
All right.
Let's go through our catalog. So I tell you the name of the band, and you tell me the city or country or whatever you want about this band that is relevant to our talk here, right?
Yeah, okay,
or
let's
to
do
the
it.
people who are listening to that. So
let's do it.
Let's start it. So Banda Jardes.
Guaianazes, São Paulo.
Super Spanish combo.
Cataluña, Andalucía, Chile, México, en Barcelona.
Right.
Con candado, el Raval no olvida, no queda callado.
Mataron a Juan Andrés, lo mataron allá en el Raval, víctima del abuso de la fuerza policial.
En el Carrera Aurora, un
Forró de cabeça.
Recife, Pernambuco, Brasil.
Dr. Nativo.
From the beautiful country of Guatemala.
La Dame Blanche.
Cuba, France, and Argentina.
By the way, she is not Blanche, she is Noah.
She's
It's okay. Transylvanians.
They are the guys from my place, Vigo, Galicia.
Exactly, Los Gallegos. La Fanfaria del Capitán.
The craziest band of all, Argentina and Germany.
Exactly. Elvi and the Garden House.
Bologna, Italy and Central Africa.
Exactly, with a song for Dr. Sócrates.
In ogni attività sotto la mimetica grande femminilità, col suo carisma lei diventerà un mito per chi la incontrerà.
Yeah, the record there. Yeah. Now it's my turn, GArRinchA.
Okay, let's go.
I go with the band. So,
Yeah.
Horoya.
Yeah, Brazil, West Africa, in São Paulo.
La Rueda.
Colombia, Guinea, and Madrid.
Ska Maria Pastora.
Olinda, Brazil.
El Santo Golpe.
USA, California, from Mexico.
Our friends from Riverside. Exactly.
Right.
Me gusta el arroz, me gusta el maíz, me gusta pasearte por este carril. Te traigo una rosa, te traigo una flor. Hoy vengo a darte
Bando.
Puerto Rico, San Juan.
Was made in Barcelona.
Valencia, Uruguay, Cuba, Peru, France, Mexico, in Barcelona, the whole Barceloneta.
They are from everywhere, these
Right.
guys.
Llegó el chamaco de la poma representando zona con Made in Barcelona. Si no entiendes o no escuchas, mona, reacciona, que la música te emociona. Sientes como sorprendentemente se te asoma. Tomas por la mano y bailas con la otra persona.
Abeokuta.
Brazil, Recife, Olinda, Berlin. Now we have one guy here in Berlin. The other one is in
Yes.
Spain. Aline, Josué, Mexico, Argentina, living in Germany.
Hoyos Negros Vivo Trio.
This is our brothers from Vila Nhocuné, Renato Gama, Ronaldo Gama, Léo Carvalho, right? São Paulo, Brazil.
Rapadura.
Yeah, Ceará, Brazil, Northeast Brazil.
Quem sistema escraviza e não quer teu bem, só monopoliza pra não ir além. E seja como for, se a minha estrada é rio, eu desago no mar de amor, pois nunca me esqueço que
So, Sócrates, but I'll leave the last one to you. Come on. Reca.
Desde las Reollas para todos los barrios, Las Palmas de Gran Canaria.
Radio Tropical Diaspora. No, perfect.
Radio.
That's it.
Tenían dinero, te fiaban. Dime qué te hace falta, mi niño, y te lo apuntaban. De los supermercados no hace falta que te explique nada. Lo dijo Manolo Vieira, apuntan y disparan. Antes el Gran Parque era un cuartel.
Oh, let me ask you one thing, Garra. Where we stand now?
Okay, let's do it. We have just released, and just is really this week,
Just.
right? A record called Canto do Universo Falado by the so-mentioned artist Rapadura.
Yeah.
And his first record, he mixed forró and rap. And now we are releasing his new work. The next one is for you, but I think this guy is from Africa, right, Sócrates?
Yes. Yes, we can say it's Africa. That's right, and that is the record Orgullo de Barrio, that can be translated as the pride of the suburbs, which is Orgullo de Barrio is a hip-hop song by the rapper Heka, but the song is the result of a participatory art project, an art project by the artistic team PSJM, Cynthia and Pablo, who are good friends of mine.
You have done a lot already together, right?
Yeah. Yes. And they were doing this participatory art project together with Heka, the rapper, the visual artist Silvia Alvarez, and also with all the residents of Las Reollas, which is a poor and abandoned neighborhood in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. And this record will be our first 10 inches, by the way. Yeah, but coming from Africa, now that we are in the African continent,
Right.
yeah, we have something else, Garra, yeah?
Oh yeah, that's something very special. We are kind of proud of, right? But we are working that since a lot of time. But Last but not least, so we are working to produce a live recording with Pax Nicolas. We mentioned that before, right? We organize many concerts with him here. The legendary conga player from Felas Africa 70. He lives in Berlin since the band got disbanded after the concert in the Berliner Philharmonie 1978. Right? A lot of history here already.
Exactly.
And the musical work of Pax Nicolas, just to mention the ideas behind that represent what we think too, more or less, right? The ideas of Afrobeat and Afrofuturism. United in an unprecedented mixture with Pax Nicolas and his music. His songs and his performance on the stage, right? Pax Nicolas sent to his audience in 2 voyages of discovery. In one hand, you have the Afrobeat, as everybody or most people know, and this confrontation, right? Fela Kuti's confrontation with the African diaspora, and as well the direct experience of social oppression that is in all the texts, right? On the other hand, there is an attempt to portray black people in a liberating way as the classic Afrofuturistic strategy.
Yeah, what you were mentioning before about this.
Exactly. And this is the concept for the concert.
Yeah, that's right. But, well, let's go serious now.
Whoa. We wasn't serious until now.
We weren't serious enough.
Okay, let's
go serious.
Right.
Let's finish this talk with our library. With the books that accompany us, the books that inspire us.
Yeah, you as a scholar, right? Is you yourself is an inspiration already, exactly. Yes, that's right. So we take many books with us, right? Let's mention few of them, few authors from our library: Assata Sakur, Carlos Marighella, Stevie Biko, right? Angela Davis, how not? James Baldwin, Aimé Césaire, Amos N. Wilson, Sheila Walker, with a great book about Afro-diasporas in whole Americas, right? And many others. But could you please quote something from Frantz Fanon again?
Okay, from the wretched of the earth. So Fanon writes, Western bourgeois racial prejudice is a racism of contempt. It is a racism which minimizes what it hates. Bourgeois ideology managed to appear logical in its own eyes by inviting the sub-men and the sub-women to become human, and to take as their prototype Western humanity as incarnated in the Western bourgeoisie. That was Fanon.
No words.
Yes, but now, Garra, please, make please now the connection with the native peoples of the Americas.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll try to do it. Dr. Sócrates, I would like to quote from the last essay by Ailton Krenak. It's called Ideas to Postpone the End of the World.
We need that.
Right? They have a lot of ideas, but one idea here was very special in this small book. We have a series of books here, very small ones, but let's go. Krenak was a representative, right, of the indigenous peoples at the debates on the 1988 new Brazilian constitution, where he covered his face with the black ink of the genipapo fruit during his speech in the parliament.
Yeah,
it was very, very powerful.
His famous
the natives in Brazil do this black ink for the genipapo is a color for the fight.
Right. The performance is amazing.
The performance is amazing.
You see the footage today? The performance is still very, very powerful.
He's a great speaker, so he just convinced the whole parliament about his ideas with his speech. But in this book, again, something very strong related to the the new era we are living right now, right?
Yeah.
The Anthropocene
The Anthropocene.
in Germany, but Anthropocene in
Yeah,
English.
yes.
And he's saying this in his
In
book.
Yeah.
The end of the world might be just that, a brief interruption in a state of ecstasy we can't bear to lose. It seems to me that all artifices we and our ancestors have pursued have had to do with a sensation. And when we graft that sensation onto merchandise, goods, external fare, it materializes in the fruits of our technologies, in the whole apparatus that we have gradually layered of the body of Mother Earth. All the ancient civilizations refer to the Earth as Mother.
Well, there is Fatherland too, Gara, which is the pride of so-called civilization.
Let's leave the Fatherland for a second out of
Sorry for the interruption.
of it, but I'll tell you again. All the ancient civilizations referred to the earth as Mother, Pachamama, Gaia, a perfect, endless goddess, overflowing with grace, beauty, and abundance. Take the Greek goddess of prosperity, with her cornucopia, forever brimming with all the earth's bounty. In other traditions, such as those of China, India, as well the Americas, in all the ancient cultures, the reference is always that of a maternal provider, never the father or any such masculine figure. Every time the image of the father breaks onto the scene, it's always to prey upon, destroy, dominate.
What a finish.
That's a finish, I think.
It's a great finish.
We don't need to tell anything anymore.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Seguimos na luta do processo cotidiano de descolonização de corpos e mentes, subvertendo os caminhos, relações, modos e conceitos vigentes. Pela negação, mas principalmente pela afirmação, pela construção. Sigamos como a descatequização das almas e ritos de deuses impostos, nutridos por sangue índio, sangue negro, ouro, madeira e terra. Sigamos para que pessoas, grupos, culturas busquem seus caminhos próprios, sem se ocidentalizar, sem buscar o Homo Eurosapiens, não em imagem, mas em essência. Atentos, padrões outros com o mesmo paradigma, o jogo segue o mesmo. Pelo não padrão, sigamos ao fim do escravismo, alicerce de nossa origem, definidor de relações, no cotidiano da opressão física e mental, definindo matáveis e não matáveis. Sigamos a não discriminação por predisposições físicas, origens, sexos. O mundo é muito, diversos tantos que somos. Não a militarização fascista. Pambras Afrique, Brasil, Guiné, Mali, Senegal, Burkina Faso. Autonomia, liberdade, dignidade em corpo, mente e espírito. Oroiá.
Learning to Listen 4 with Tropical Diaspora Records, featuring DJ GArRinchA and DJ Dr. Sócrates, with contributions by Abel Cutá, Bando, Dr. Nativo, El Santo Golpe, El Bee and the Garden House, Forró de Cabeça, GK, Oroyá, La Dame Blanche, La Fanfarria del Capitán, La Rueda, Los Made in Barcelona, Ogunhê, Rapadura, Renato Gama, Regis Moreno, Rio Senti, Ska Maria Pastora, Super Spanish Combo, and the Transylvanians. Learning to Listen is a podcast series produced by Academy of the Arts of the World Cologne, featuring contributions by Daniele Almeida, São Paulo, Brazil, Chimurenga, Cape Town, South Africa, Olivier Marbeuf, Paris, France, Tropical Diaspora Records, Berlin, Germany. Learning to Listen, concept and moderation, Max Jorge Hinderer Cruz. Production and audio design, Keno Mesher. My name is Max Jorge Hinderer Cruz.
ADKDW Rec.